Okay, cool. So hit record and we're going to get started. I do have an announcement for you guys. You probably saw it via people talking in the Facebook group chat, but Red Velvet Level 1 and Red Velvet Collagen are here, which is so exciting. I was waiting, so I placed an order yesterday because I'm like, man, maybe we're just skipping it this year for Valentine's Day. That was stupid. I should have waited until today. But anyway, it is here for a limited time. So this is one of our, it's kind of like pumpkin spice latte as well as peppermint bark. It is here when it's here and it's gone and it's gone. I actually just ordered another tub of peppermint bark collagen. I cannot believe that we still have that flavor in stock. That is mind blowing to me. I know Annette likes that one too, I think, if I remember it. Yeah. It's so good. I can't believe that we still had some. So I was like, I am 100% getting another one of those. But those items will be available again with limited stock too. So I would say that within 2 weeks they'll be sold out. So if that is a flavor that you want, I would highly, highly recommend getting that. Mine should be here hopefully by Friday or Saturday. And of course, I have tons of recipes for red velvet because it was like one of the OG flavors. It didn't used to be seasonal; you could get it all the time, but now it's just seasonal. So that's what I've got for you guys for announcements. I think that is it. And then we all decided before I hit recording that we will open assessments Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. So they will be open a day early. So the earlier that you guys get them in, that would be great. Just so that I can get them done sitting in the airport and traveling to and from it, etc. So all
Hey,
that said,
Kels.
oh yeah, go ahead.
I saw too they had a new form energy flavor. Do you know what that is?
Ooh,
Texas something.
yeah, I guess that one is limited edition. Let me see if I can pull that up. I think it's more of like a citrus type of flavor. So I'm trying to see, did they just put it on the website or did they send an email about it?
I saw it on the website, but I can't remember. I think I got a text saying these new flavors are up, and it had red velvet, but it also had the
Oh
Texas
yeah.
something on there.
Texas Lightning. Okay, let me look at
Yeah.
let me go down and see if I can see the description of them, of any, if anything. I can't right now, but I do remember that one being more of like a citrusy flavor.
Yeah,
So
Skylar just commented and said that it description says citrus blast or burst.
okay, perfect. So I'm assuming that that one's probably going to rival something like a Mountain Dew, a Sprite, a lemon lime type of soda if it's going to be like citrus. So yes, but I guess we have Texas Lightning, so that's exciting. I didn't even thanks, Annette. I didn't even realize that. um, we'll see what if anybody orders it. Let us know what you think. I think Brittany ordered a case, so she can tell us. Okay, but without further ado, let's go ahead and let's jump into our topic tonight. So we are talking about FAQs. Obviously, FAQs stand for frequently asked questions that I get asked, and it's just a good reminder, even if you know this information, to reiterate why it's so important, but then also to maybe figure out a few different things. Okay, so the first one is, and I love this one. Should I use a food scale? Okay. Should I use a food scale? And the answer is absolutely yes. If you want to be as accurate as possible, nothing is going to be better than a food scale. Measuring cups are okay. Again, they're accurate, but eyeballing is obviously not going to be as accurate. If you really want to start to educate yourself about food and nutrition, I highly recommend a food scale. Now, there's no gray area about the scale. The scale doesn't lie. And I know that it may seem overwhelming at first to like weigh everything, but once you realize and once you do it a couple of times, it's really not that hard. And it actually becomes a really simple process that you can use. Obviously, I love the scale for the sole purpose that you can change the different quantities that you're measuring in. So if you want ounces, milliliters, grams, kilograms, different things like that, it's going to be great for you. And I always recommend a glass top one. So for those of you guys who are watching the call or catching the recording, if you do not have a scale, I'll post my Amazon storefront link to this one. It's like $13. It's really cheap. Yes, see, Jody said she has the same one and it's really good. Yeah, it's like $13. It's really cheap, but I like that it's digital. It lasts forever. And again, you don't want something that's going to be a like one of those small circle tops. You want something you can actually set a big bowl on. So again, no gray area with the scale. It's so educational. And I've used this food scale now for 5 years. And I can tell you guys that the more that I've used a food scale, the better that I've been at eyeballing thing. It definitely makes you better at that. And I can tell, Logan and I play the game of like, how many ounces of protein do you think it is? So we'll eyeball it and then we'll like, tear out the bowl or whatever. And then we'll guess. And we get closer and closer and closer every time, like the more that you do it. But all that to say is, again, we understand if you're out and about, it's hard to get that scale in, but I'd encourage at least, if not, at least minimum, you're going to want to focus on weighing your protein sources. Because why? A lot of people underestimate on the protein that they consume and overestimate on the protein, underestimate on the carbs. So if you're going to weigh anything, you absolutely want to be knowing the protein that you're consuming and you're taking in. That's going to be really important. Now, there's two different ways to use the scale, and I want to go ahead and talk about that. And we'll use like my speaker here, like it's going to be a food item. So the first option is obviously turning the scale on, making sure that it is tared out, and then putting whatever said item on top of the scale and weighing it. Very similar to how you would step on a scale like you would in the bathroom, right? So yes, make sure you turn it on, it's tared, put something on it, great. If you have a bowl on there, you can put multiple ingredients in there. So maybe you're making a taco bowl. So you put the corn in there, tear it out. Put the beans in there, tear it out. Put the sour cream in there, tear it out. Every single time, if you tear it, obviously it's going to reset back to zero. But another way, one of my favorite ways to use the scale that not a lot of people think of is you can put said item on the scale and then turn it on. And let's say that this is a container of Greek yogurt or this is a container of cottage cheese. I actually should have grabbed one from the fridge. You can, at that point, it will say zero with the item on there. You can dig in and take out quantities that you're desiring as well. So again, you can use it two ways. You can put the bowl on there, add things to it, or add said container and remove from it. This is exactly how I measure all of our olive oils, avocado oils, or any of our like sauces or dressings, condiments, things like that. Put the container on there, use however much we're going to use, put it back on there, and then that negative number that you see is actually a reflection of the grams, ounces, milliliters, whatever it may be. So again, using a food scale, it's never going to lie. It's always going to tell you the truth and is always going to be the most accurate. So any questions about the food scale, how the food scale is used, or ways that you guys use the food scale?
I just want to say you had mentioned that before, like the pudding, and that's great for like peanut butter, things like that.
Yes.
Except for it makes me kind of cry because I'm like, oh, this is a tablespoon of peanut butter as I dig it out. No, never mind. That's 2 tablespoons. But you know,
It's helpful.
that-
Yeah.
yeah.
The peanut butter is heartbreaking. I get my heart broken every day, truly. But it's just the limit of peanut butter does not exist. I could eat so much of it. But I remember you saying that, Annette, when I shared that you can put something on it and scoop out of it. That really makes a big difference too. So again, if you're using something like peanut butter and you're not putting in a bowl or whatever, you're just putting it on a plate and you don't want to try to balance the plate on there, put the jar on there, make sure it's tared out, scoop out what you need, and then that negative number will reflect. It's obviously, positive, but that negative number then reflects the quantity that you are consuming. So again, really great reminders that food scales are your friend. They are there to help you. And there is no better tool. And I say this from working in a kitchen for 5 years. There is no better tool in the kitchen than a scale because truthfully, it just educates you so much. You're better at portion sizing, you're better at guessing, you're better at understanding the food quality and contents of what makes up that food. It's really, really, really important. Jody said, the only thing I found is that it's hard using the scale if I'm measuring in grams. I've noticed some of the items in the app don't track by grams or ounces. They go by the actual serving size. So it's going to be dependent on what things you're looking at. So if you're finding really common things like chicken, for example, it's going to have grams, ounces, milliliters, whatnot. But if you're finding a very specific product, it's probably only going to be in that serving size. So that's kind of a little bit of an issue too. But things like apples, bananas, grapes, you can measure them in grams, you can measure them in ounces, whatever it may be. Jody, that's likely a very specific product issue, but if we keep running into that, that's a great thing for you to send to me in the app and I'll help you troubleshoot that too. So you're not the only person that struggles with that. Sometimes pasta is a little bit hard too. But that again is something to focus on. Speaking of pasta and speaking of things like protein, I just wanted to mention with the food scale too, you should be weighing your protein sources cooked, not uncooked, not raw. Because when we cook them, water cooks off, fat cooks off, different things like that. It actually changes the weight. So the true weight of the protein that you're consuming is the cooked weight. So just make sure you weigh all your protein cooked. For pasta, I know that it's hard, but it's actually the dry pasta measurement. So keep that in mind too, that they're going off dry pasta, not cooked pasta, because if you look at quantities of both of them, it actually is different. So you want to go off dry pasta or dry rice or something like that. Again, small, but details matter. So that's our first thing with regards to the food scale. If you guys have any other questions about it, drop them in the comments. Second one I get asked a lot of the times, I just got asked this today by a new functional nutrition patient in my office, is what are good carbs? Are there good carbs? Are there bad carbs? What are the best carbs for us? And you guys know it from being with me for a while. I don't like to talk about good foods and bad foods. I inherently do not believe that there are necessarily good foods and bad foods. There are foods that fuel us significantly better and foods that aren't as fueling for us. I look at everything from our journey from an optimization standpoint of your body has a gas tank. Are you putting in premium? Or are you putting in 87? Or are you putting in 88, 89, whatever it may be? We obviously want to always fuel the tank with premium. So again, I don't view good and bad. I view how is this going to fuel me versus how is this not? Something like a sweet potato versus a Rice Krispie, the sweet potato is going to fuel me significantly longer and likely better than something like a Rice Krispie. That's just going to give me a short burst of energy that then, since it's processed, I can't really do a ton with it. So the answer to what are good carbs, or I would say the best carb sources for you, it's going to be anything that comes from the earth. So we are talking about fruits, we are talking about vegetables, we are talking about whole grains and trying to stay away from a ton of processed things. Now, things like rice and oats and along those lines, they're great. You just want to make sure that they're not super processed, they're not super refined. And ultimately, I was talking to Christy Negus about this the other day. I was sharing with her that all oatmeal technically should be gluten-free. So all oatmeal, when it in its form, it should be gluten-free. If it's processed a multitude of times, that's where the fortification of adding back in nutrients, if you will, happens, and then ultimately it doesn't end up being as gluten-free for us. So as long as you're finding those things from the earth and you're trying to eat from the earth as much as possible, those are our God-given carbs. Like those are the carbs that we ultimately should be consuming. Things like donuts and pastries, cake, cookies, cupcakes, processed things. Again, are they fine once in a while? Absolutely. If it's your birthday, enjoy that. If you're celebrating something, enjoy that. It's Valentine's Day this weekend. If you're going out with your significant other, husband, wife, whatever, yeah, enjoy a dessert, enjoy that together. But again, we just have to remember if we do that all the time, it's not going to fuel our body long term. So as always, if you can choose natural, go that route. That's going to be very, very important. So again, not necessarily good carbs versus bad carbs, but carbs that will fuel you significantly better. So then what maybe some of you are thinking in your head is, well, what if I like a sweet treat? So that's the third thing we're going to talk about. What do I do about my sweet tooth? So I hear this all the time. I like a sweet treat after lunch. I like a sweet treat after dinner, or I just have such a big sweet tooth. The first thing that we need to understand is we develop a sweet tooth based off of information the body is giving us. And what the body is telling us when we have cravings for sweets is that it is desiring energy. When we have cravings for things that are salty, the body is likely telling us it has a desire for electrolytes. But the body doesn't tell the brain, and the brain doesn't tell the body that exact thing. It's just like, ooh, I want something sweet. Let me go for something really processed. Or I want something salty. Let me go for something crunchy like chips or pretzels or something like that. Whereas what it really could be is, okay, I'm feeling depleted. I want something sweet. All of us know that fruit inherently is sweet, but over the years, fruit has gotten less sweet to us because of how much more sweet other things have gotten. So if you can have that conversation with yourself in your head of like, okay, I want something sweet right now, but is that what my body really needs? Or is my body trying to tell me that it needs energy? Maybe getting in a full meal or getting in a great serving of vegetables, a serving of fruit. And don't worry, I'm going to talk about desserts in a second, can really help you. But then on the contrary, too, if you're craving something salty, that could be that your iron is low. You need some red meat, or you need to add some pink Himalayan salt to your water with lemon. Naturally, the body is always trying to communicate. We just misinterpret the signals. So, with that being said, if you have a sweet tooth and if you're like, I just have to have a little treat, no problem. But let's think about that ahead of time and let's make those treats. There's nothing wrong with making a batch of protein balls. As soon as my red velvet comes in, I plan on making a massive batch of protein balls. There's nothing wrong with making a homemade banana bread that's healthier. Protein pancakes that are, higher in protein. Protein ice creams, right? Many of us are on the Ninja Creamy train. I know that that is a train I'm absolutely on. Or you can make ice cream, excuse me, from cottage cheese. There's blueberry cheesecake bites. We share a ton of those things in the Facebook group. But what a lot of people get stuck with is all of a sudden the craving hits them and they're like, I'm just going to stop at Fresh Market, or I'm just going to stop at Insomnia Cookies or Crumble Cookie or whatever it may be. And then inherently, we all know what happens. We feel like garbage after that stuff because it's super processed. It's very high in sugar. I don't know if you guys know this, but one crumble cookie is anywhere from 1,200 to 1,600 calories. Like one massive crumble cookie. Like that's more than some people eat in an entire day, and it's just in one cookie. It's insane how processed those things are. Or we're stopping for that Dunkin' coffee that's loaded with sugar, or the Starbucks coffee that's loaded with sugar, which all of us have great information now from Abby's announcement about the protein milk for Starbucks, so that'll be good for us. But again, it's thinking about these things ahead of time. If you are someone who likes that sweet treat, do not deprive yourself from it, but add it into your meal prep. Make sure that you have it in your regular routine. So when you want that and when you desire it, you have access to it. And if you're someone who you're like, that's me, I need some great recipes. Well, I'm going to tell you, look in the Facebook group because there's hundreds and hundreds of recipes at this point, but also feel free to reach out to me and I can get you some as well. So again, thinking about it ahead of time and understanding that, yeah, the body's telling you that it needs energy. If you're still, craving something after a balanced meal, then just have something prepped and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Guilt-free at that point because you're making it and it's significantly healthier than something you would get in the store. So any questions about sweet tooths, understanding the cravings, different things like that? For us females too, I know that there will be some like males on the team that go back and watch this call. This is especially important around your cycle times too, females. If you know that that's like you just want all the carbs, you want to you crave those things, you crave the desserts or whatever, thinking about that and setting a reminder in your calendar to say, okay, a week from now, I'm probably like going to be on my cycle. Let me prep those things ahead of time. That is how people who care about their journeys approach their journeys because we don't just want 1 week out of the month every single year where we're like, oh, screw it, and none of it matters. We can still plan for that. We can still prep for that. Try to mitigate it as best we can. So that's what we do about our sweet tooth. So that was number 3.
Oh,
Number 4,
no,
finishing up.
Chelsea.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
go
I
ahead,
was just
Heather.
gonna say, so this goes way back because no one else has kids my age. Um, like when they start going from formula, breast milk, whatever, to solid foods, like our pediatrician was like, no sweet, like sweet potatoes, fruits, or any of that. Do not start with that. You have to start
No.
with all like the greens and all that.
Yes.
And sure enough, sorry, Skylar, but as soon as I let her have sweet potatoes, we were done. There was no more eating any of the other types of the
Yep.
bland foods. And it's funny because I mean, it starts that young that you get to it and they want the sweet over
Yep.
the normal food.
And then your taste buds know it, and you're like, why would I
Mhm.
eat that
Yep,
avocado when I can have this?
exactly. No more green beans.
Yeah, screw the green beans. I want the sweet potatoes. It's
Yep.
it's so true though, and it goes to show that at really any phase of life, that's what can happen as well. So we just need to be mindful of it and be aware of it, and then have healthier alternatives too. So that's a good point, Heather. I appreciate you bringing that up. That's also why we tell them not to have cereal or super like refined grains the first, year to potentially 2 years of their life too, because that can be really addicting too from a process standpoint. So lots of things that go into that. Okay, number 4 then. We're going to talk about 4, maybe 5 if we have time. Um, a lot of the questions that I get asked is I like sauces, I like dressings, I'm a sauce boss, but I don't like the high fat content. How do I deal with that? So there's a couple of things. One, thankfully at this day and age, there is so many healthier alternatives out there to regular condiments. If you think about 10 years ago, there really wasn't alternatives to healthier versions of ketchup or mayo or mustard. Like it just was what it was. Now there's tons of brands that make I think there's a brand that's called Yo Mama, if I'm not mistaken. They make really great pizza sauces that are incredible ingredients. So I just picked one up for one of our friends' birthdays in the next couple of weeks because he loves cooking. So I'm like, oh, perfect. This is a great sauce. I'm gonna, throw in a basket for him. So there's really great options there. There's fantastic options with regards to salad dressings. So balsamics and vinaigrettes and different healthier versions of ranch and stuff like that. We have come a long way. So looking at low fat options, looking at reduced sugar options are going to be fantastic. But then also, I've got another tip for you. If you're like, I just can't go to the low fat or whatever it may be, well, what I want you to do is portion out your sauce into a container or weigh it on your scale. And then add a little bit of water to it. And when I say a little bit, I'm talking like half of a tablespoon. You would be amazed at how much more that stretches it out. And then therefore it gets you a lot farther. Because we all know if we just dump out a clump of ranch, well, we can eat that up pretty quick. That's not going to last us very long. But if you mix it with a half tablespoon of water, it thins it a little bit and then it goes a lot farther. And you could do this for any of your sauces too. So that's a really great option if you want the source, but you need it to go farther. That's a great option too. The second thing is, if you have not already seen, Leah plugged it in the Facebook group on Tuesday when she was talking about the homemade pasta recipe. She shared my Alfredo recipe again. And my Alfredo recipe is so simple. It is so easy. And once you have it, honestly, you're probably not going to want to buy store-bought Alfredo again. So just as a reminder, what the base is it sauteed squash or zucchini. So I either do yellow squash or zucchini. It doesn't matter what it is. I pan fry it. And then I dump it in a blender, put cottage cheese in there, salt, pepper, Parmesan cheese, a little bit of pesto, and a little bit of milk. Hit blend. And then voila, you've got a homemade Alfredo sauce that's high in protein because of the cottage cheese and the milk, and is very, very low in fat because the only fat that's in there is going to be from cottage cheese or it's going to be from the milk. So it's significantly lower. And the source of it is zucchini. So the carbs on a whole zucchini is like five, it's virtually none. So it's a really great option you can, if you're a sauce boss like me, like I have no shame, guys, I love sauce, okay? I'm going to dump all that on there, but I can have a half a cup of it and for very minimal macros. So again, that recipe is linked in the Facebook group. I should probably refilm it and reshare it because it's really good, but that's something to keep in mind as well that you can make those. And what I will say is anything that you make squash based is going to come out really creamy and really good. Just like I have a butternut squash soup recipe that's phenomenal. And I also have that spaghetti squash recipe that I actually turn into queso. So lots of different things that you can do with squash. And again, squash is cool because it doesn't really have a flavor. Whatever flavor you pair it with is what it absorbs. So if you put in spaghetti squash with cheese, it's just going to end up tasting cheesy. You don't really taste the squash portion of it. So that's what's going to be really important too. Skylar said, ever since tracking, I never realized how much mayo I eat. Yeah, it's been the hardest thing for sure. Finding a lower fat mayo it's hard, but it's worth it. And what I will say too for you guys, Skylar and Jody, is you also can make your own mayo too. I'm not sure if you know that, but it's really easy with egg whites. Obviously, it's not going to stay in the fridge as long, but if you're making it, you can control the proportions a lot better too. So it's just egg whites and olive oil or avocado oil. Obviously, you can stretch it pretty far. I add in a little bit of cottage cheese and put it in a blender and then salt, pepper, and you really hardly can tell. So making it and figuring out ways to make your favorite dressings are going to be huge too. Like my mom makes her own French dressing and she uses the base as like a sugar-free ketchup. So you can do tons of different things, but get creative in the kitchen. That's going to be the most important thing. I think that's the last thing I had from a sauce perspective. But being educated about it is important. And if you really want it, great, put it in there and you're just gonna have to play macro Tetris. You're just gonna have to work some other things around and there's no wrong thing about that. So again, I'm not telling you have to avoid all the sauces that you enjoy, but being mindful of quality and quantity is going to be huge. Yeah, Emily, I'll have my mom get the French dressing recipe for sure. It's actually my grandma's. It's so old, but it's really, really, really good. My grandma probably puts too much sugar in it though, so I'll cut the sugar with you guys. Let me write that down, French dressing for sure. So that's what I've got for you guys this evening. I just wanted to talk over 4 commonly asked questions. And again, so it was, I like sauces and dressing, but what do I do about it? I've got a sweet tooth. What are good carbs? And then do I need to use a food scale? Again, in some way, shape, or form, probably information that you've heard before, but good reminders. And why I really wanted to have this conversation with you guys is these are the exact things that if people in your life are not ready to commit to Train with Kelsey in a program, commit to nutrition coaching, because it's a big leap. If they're not ready to do those things, these are little small things that you can do to influence them. You can say, hey, I found this healthier version of this dressing, or you know what, I made this recipe and it's really helped with my sweet tooth. So you pass it along. Or, I started using a food scale, and even if you just weigh your protein sources, helping them kind of figure out What's a good daily target of protein? And just as a reminder, we always want to shoot for 1 gram of protein per our goal body weight. So if you're talking to, a mom, a brother, a sister, a friend, a dad, whoever, and they say, hey, my goal weight is 160. Okay, well, then 160 grams of protein is going to be a really great number for you to hit. And sometimes, a lot of people think that they eat a lot of protein. People don't need a lot of protein. So even if they could just be educated about that, it would help too. So always constantly thinking of, especially community last week, how can we influence our community and what can we do to leave this a better place? So hope you guys learned something. I hope you took something away from it. I would love in the messages this week with your assessment if you if you learned something new, share it. If you have something to add to a point of this, share it. But also if you have an FAQ too, maybe you have a question or you have a question that you get asked a lot. Let's talk about it, and then we could always turn it into part two next week as well. So, anybody have any comments or things that they want to add? Ooh, Emily said, how do I help people that ask me on tracking macros or ask questions? They say it's too hard or not doing it and they can't justify doing it, if that makes sense. Yeah, Emily, I hear that all the time. So what you really have to get to, and sometimes it can be really challenging, is like, what is the root of why they don't want to do it? Have they done it in the past and they haven't been successful? Do they not know their macros? Also, please tell them not to go online and do a macro calculator. It's probably going to be wrong. That's why someone like myself exists to help program macros. But I think that what it comes down to is just it's just their priorities, right? So if they say, "Oh, well, I just don't have the time to do it," my favorite thing to say is, "Well, you take this thing to the bathroom, don't you? You got time to do it, right? It takes maybe 3 to 5 minutes to track your whole day. If you take your phone to the bathroom, like you can figure it out, you can do it." But then also figuring out again why do they want to do it or why do they not want to do it? If they say it's going to take too much time, you'll show them that consistently through your lifestyle it doesn't take much time. If they say that they don't want to do it because they're uneducated, then maybe that's a really great place to plug the Facebook group of just learning about what macros are or something like that. So again, being very mindful of the conversation because I used to think macros were super restrictive. I used to think that I there was no way that I could track macros because it was going to tell me what I could or couldn't eat, and my maintenance is 2,200 calories. I'm not starving eating 2,200 calories. So it's just kind of it's something to think of. But if you have specific examples, Emily, reach out to me and we'll navigate that conversation together for sure. For sure, for sure. Always, yeah. Cool. Well, that's what I got for you guys this evening. Hopefully, you found it as a good refresher or helpful, or maybe all of the above. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a good rest of your evening. I will see you next week and get those assessments in so I can get them back to you. Okay, we'll talk soon. Bye.